big thank you to our moderator and our panelists for such a fruitful discussion and being so extremely resource efficient with their time. We've, ladies and gentlemen, decided to cancel the tea and the networking for now in the interest of time. We're going to move on to our last session of this evening, session 6. So if you could please all take a seat again, we'd like to continue. We have the last session is going to be legislating climate action from policy to enforcement. The final session explores how climate commitments can be translated into effective legislation and enforced through institutional mechanisms. Ladies and gentlemen, can I please request you to take your seats? I'm going to ask the honorable ministers to come up on stage now. Can I please request the Honorable Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Syed Ghulam Mustafa Shah, to please come up on stage? And can I also request the Honorable Federal Minister for Law and Justice, Mr. Azam Nazir Tarar, to join us on stage? And lastly, Mr. Makhdoom Fakhr Zaman, the Member of the Provincial Assembly of Sindh, to please come up on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. We have our honorable guests on the stage, and I'm going to request one of the ministers to please start his address. Can I please request everyone in the hallway to please come back into the main room, and everyone in the room to please take their seats. This is the last session of the day. I fully appreciate you being extremely patient with us. But we have three great speakers who are going to talk us through climate legislation and the way forward for our country. So first up, I'm going to request the chairperson of this session, the Honorable Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Syed Ghulam Mustafa Shah, to come up on stage and deliver his address. Sir.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and a very good afternoon to you all. Honorable Chair, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed a pleasure to be here today addressing this august gathering. I would like to commend the organizers of the second Breathe Pakistan International Climate Change Conference for convening this important platform. Since its launch in 2025, this forum has become central to shaping Pakistan's national climate dialogue. Breathe Pakistan reflects a vital partnership between government, international institutions, and private sector, an alliance we urgently need to confront this crisis. Distinguished guests, Pakistan, despite contributing less than 1% to global greenhouse gas emissions, ranks among the most climate vulnerable countries in the world. This stark imbalance between Pakistan's minimal contribution to disappropriate suffering is not just a theoretical concern, it is reflected in the frequency and intensity of climate-induced disasters we continue to face. Over the past few years, the climate-induced calamities have demonstrated how deeply exposed our economy, infrastructure, and communities are live to climate shocks. The devastating flood of 2022 affected millions, claimed over 1,700 lives, and caused economic losses exceeding $30 to $40 billion. The 2025 floods again underscored this vulnerability. Primarily, assessments suggest losses exceeding $800 billion, nearly $3 billion, while more than 1,000 lives have been lost and over 4 million displaced. Beyond these numbers lies a deeper crisis: livelihood disrupted, crops destroyed, communities pushed further into poverty. Climate change could reduce Pakistan's GDP significantly by 2050. However, the challenge before us is not absence of policy, but the urgency of implementation. Ladies and gentlemen, today's Pakistan stands at a critical juncture where the impacts of climate change are no longer distant threats but daily realities affecting our most vulnerable communities. Our parliament has reorganized that securing prosperous future requires more than just rhetoric. It demands a robust legislative backbone with the recognition of environmental rights under Article 9A. We have reaffirmed that a clean and healthy environment is a fundamental right. The challenge now is clear, translating this commitment into meaningful action. I am pleased to note that the Parliament of Pakistan has long demonstrated leadership in sustainability. As early as in 2016, Parliament House achieved the distinction of becoming the world's first largest green legislature through comprehensive adoption of renewable energy, reflecting a commitment to lead by example. From establishing the first ever dedicated SGDCs Secretariat within the Parliament House to the pioneering work of the Parliamentary Task Force on SDGs, we have embedded the Sustainable Development Goals at the heart of our parliamentary process, ensuring that every policy, deliberation, and budgetary approval is guided by the principles of equity, inclusion, of long-term resilience. Distinguished guests, the National Assembly remains the vanguard of Pakistan's climate resilient transformation. Through the Pakistan Climate Change Act 2017 and the continued oversight of the Standing Committee on Climate Change and Environmental Coordination, we have institutionalized a framework that moves us crisis management to proactive adoption. Our legislation focus has expanded to include the National Adaptation Plan (NAP) and the 4RF framework, which guide our journey towards sustainable recovery and reconstruction. Ladies and gentlemen, our duty as lawmakers is to ensure the sustainability and resilience facility and our national climate finance mechanisms translate into tangible relief for our citizens. In a strong show of commitment to environmental sustainability, National Assembly of Pakistan joined the world in observing Earth Hour 26, demonstrating its resolve to combat climate change and reaffirm commitment to environmental conservation and sustainable development. Domestically, the National Assembly continues to host high-level national seminars and regional conferences bringing together experts, civil society, and global lawmakers to exchange best practices. Beyond our domestic borders, this House has become a vibrant hub of climate diplomacy, actively championing the cause of Global South. The Parliament of Pakistan has consistently demonstrated proactive leadership. From hosting key regional engagements such as 2022 IPU Asia Pacific Seminar in the aftermath of the devastating floods to actively participating in global platforms like COP, advocating for loss and damage financing and global climate justice to ensure that the voice of climate vulnerable nation is heard. These platforms not ensure that Pakistan's voice is heard, but is influential in shaping a collective international response to the climate crisis. While these efforts demonstrate strong commitment, policies alone do not deliver outcomes. The institutions do this is where the Parliament assumes a central role. In the context of the 18th and 26th constitutional amendments, which have accorded greater constitutional significance to climate change, the role of Parliament of Pakistan in advancing legislative oversight and policy advocacy in the domain has become increasingly important. Climate action requires strong coordination between federal and provincial governments, which clearly defines the role and align legislative framework. Parliament must facilitate the coordination and ensure a unified national approach to climate governance. The urgency of Pakistan cannot be overstated. Climate impact in Pakistan are accelerating and cost of inaction continues to rise. The challenge is no longer policy formation, it is effective enforcement. This conference provided us with opportunity to move beyond discussions and towards action. It must serve as a working platform to develop actionable pathways for an improved climate governance. Last but not the least, the effectiveness of our climate response will not be judged by the strength of our commitments, but by the impact of our implementation. Pakistan stands committed to resilience, reform, and climate justice, but we also stand firm in calling global equity, shared responsibility, and meaningful support. The time is to act now, and the responsibility rests with us all. With this, I thank you all.